you never know the story behind it. There's a lot of times where I've been going through some of the hardest, darkest times, and I have my tools in my tool belt, but online, you don't see that. So I think that it would be such a gift for people to just come home to themselves. Like when you wake up in the morning, like just put your phone away, check in with yourself. Okay, body, like how am I feeling today? Mentally, emotionally, physically, energetically, like what do you need today? And like when you can make those choices from that place of like really loving and wanting to honor yourself, your whole day goes better and your life gets better.
Do you want to wake up feeling like you're stepping into who you're meant to be, into the best possible version of you? What if I told you that the key to your best life, health, and happiness are all around you? You just have to find what works for you. I'm Hope Pedraza, and I believe that there isn't just one way to live a healthy and meaningful life, and that all you need is a little inspiration to make changes that last from the inside out. Each week, I'll be sharing tangible tips and inspirational interviews to help you on your journey. These are the steps to take to improve your life and live with purpose. This is Hopeful and Wholesome. Hey y'all, welcome back to the show. Today I have on the show Pam Rocca, and she is a health and spiritual coach, a nutritionist, a Reiki practitioner, certified yoga teacher, and she's the author and host of the Divine Health podcast, which you can catch my interview with her on her podcast. And today we are talking all about the connection between spirituality and wellness. And we've touched a little bit about this in a previous episode, more along the lines of like general health, but Pam is such a gifted healer. I really wanted her to speak to the true connection between your health and intuition, spirituality and wellness, how it's all connected, and really how that all works together. I mean, it's anything you wanted to know about like how the body works as one, like the energetic body, the spiritual body, the physical body. Pam is going to teach you that today. I love this conversation with her. We were really able to go deep. We talk about Reiki and exactly what that is and how like energy healing can play into your wellness journey and kind of your healing journey. I love this conversation and I love this topic. I can't wait for y'all to listen. So let's jump in. All right, y'all. I've got Pam here and we are going to jump in and we are talking all things spirituality and wellness today, which are really two of my favorite topics. So I'm excited to bring Pam's insight on so many things, connecting the two worlds. I'm just so excited to talk about this. Thanks so much for joining me today, Pam.
Thank you so much for having me. These are two of my favorite topics too. So to be able to share more on them is just like, it fills my cup so much.
Yep, totally. Me too. And so let's kind of start with, let's just talk about your background first. Actually, just give the listeners an idea of kind of what you do and what your kind of role is in this spirituality wellness world.
Absolutely. So my story is very similar to yours. It's kind of that twisty turvy road. And I've just been trusting my instincts all along the way. So long story short, I had an eating disorder that was pretty all consuming, obviously. And I really just wanted to heal from that. So that's how my health journey began, is I was like, felt like I was in this personal prison. And I was like, there just has to be more to life than this. And so I started to learn more about the body and I took a grade 12 kinesiology class. And then I ended up going away to school for fitness and health promotion. And then eventually kinesiology. And just the more I learned about the anatomy, the physiology, everything that's happening when we're just sitting here, like right now, there's so much going on. I was like, this is fascinating. Like I loved learning about it, like on my free time. And it also was very healing for me on the other aspect because I really understood the damage I was doing by not feeding my body. I understood on a deeper level. So again, I always find knowledge is empowering because I was able to say, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. And it was a slow, bumpy road. Was able to heal myself. And I was like, okay, like I want to help other women, often as we do, that our pain point, we're like, I see other people struggling with body image issues and all of this. So I became a health coach. So I got certified in that. Also nutrition because I love nutrition. And then I got into spirituality to continue my healing because I went to see someone and they were like, I was on this health journey. I was a health coach and I thought it was amazing. And she's like, but you're not healed. Like you're doing it with all these rules. And it was it felt like a slap in the face, if I'm being honest, because I was like, I thought I did everything right, but it was based on diet culture. It was based on if you follow these rules, then you're good. Right. And I use air quotes for that. So I just started to go down this spiritual path of healing, like true healing, not the superficial, like I look healed on the outside and in an environment. And I was like, this is the root. And that's kind of what we talked about last week, is that so often we're given this Band-Aid, and that's absolutely what I did. I was like, I'm healed with this Band-Aid, just don't rip it off or I'll fall apart.
Yep.
And so many conditions. So when I got into this, like sitting with myself, spirituality, meditation through this spiritual social worker and therapist, I was like, this is it. Like, I want to scream this from the rooftop. This is the root, right? And so in a long story, that's where my coaching has been evolving, is merging nutrition, health, and spirituality so that we can get to the root of it and just really live a life that we love. So
yeah, I love that. I love that. And it's such a good, and I had a similar lesson. I think it was, kind of the same thing where you, maybe not a lesson, but just maybe my mindset at the time, like you fix the things on the outside and, or on the outside, it looks good, right? Like, well, I'm skinny and I work out and I eat healthy. So that's all it is, right? And there's so much more to it than that. What do you think for you? Because I know you said like the spirituality piece was the piece that kind of like connected the things. Like, what do you think was the thing that was missing? Like, was it like a mindset shift? That's something you believe? Was it a belief? Like, was it conditioning? What do you think was the piece that kind of shifted things for you and that spiritual side?
That's a great question. One of the biggest things that opened my eyes to it, I guess I'll say, I think I was really intuitive younger. And I felt different. So I just shut it off. And I was like, I got to be like everybody else. So a lot of conditioning and a lot of not listening to my intuition. I didn't really know what it was like. And so through that healing process, I started to lean more into that. And I was like, this is your everything. This is more important than what anybody else thinks. And the more that you practice that, and I'm like getting goosebumps just talking about it right now. It's like you're flexing. It's like when you go to the gym once, you don't really notice a change. You feel better, but your intuition is kind of like flexing that muscle. So the more that you lean into it, and I get a lot of, from a human design, it's a gut intuition. So I'd be like, nope, this situation isn't for me, or yes, this is for me. And I kind of base everything. Like when you reached out to me, I was like, yep, this is a yes. That's why I make my decisions now. So that was a big piece, is just honing into that. And I think that we're so hardwired to go against that because we rationalize, right? Yeah. Like, well, that person's a good person, I should do it. Or the shoulds, we should ourselves, we gotta stop that.
Yes.
So that was a big piece, is just the more that I went into leaning into that, the stronger it got. The other piece was that, and I think that this thing, because we're always being divinely guided, whether you believe it or not, we 100% are. And so I had this book, Anatomy of the Spirit by Caroline Myss, and I bought this book when I did my yoga teacher training, and I couldn't get into it. And then it like literally fell out of the shelf when I'm going through the spiritual evolution. And it blew my mind because she is a medical intuitive. So she's got her PhD, because this is another thing. A lot of people don't want to share about spirituality because you can't see it. You can't feel it. You can't. So if you can't see it, and that's what the conditioning that I had was that if I can rationalize it with my brain, then it's okay to share. It has to
be real.
Right? So I was able to read her book, and she's just hit everything. And so it's about how a lot of people, their auras, right? So our energy field, which you can't see, she could read people's, and a lot of disease and illness came from different areas in the body. So we have the chakra system, which, so again, a lot of times, let's just say the roots, which is, at the lower end of your pelvis. So your sacrum, if you just go below there, that's your root chakra. And so a lot of times that is linked to foundation, security, structures. And so if you're having a lot of money issues, you might have low back pain or pain in that area. Or for certain people, like not speaking your truth, that's your throat chakra. Then you might get laryngitis or bronchitis. And she was linking everything. And I was like, being the geek that I am, this is blowing my mind. I took anatomy, I took physiology, I took all of the science-based aspects, and I learned them. And the more I understood that, so the more I started to understand the spiritual side and the energetic side, the more, again, it was just connecting mind, body, and soul. Mind, body, and soul. They're all connected. And that's why I started my podcast, because so often in the health space, it's just physical. It's what are you eating? What are your macros? Like all of the physical aspects. And it's so much more than that, because if you have the physical, but you're mental is really out of alignment. So you're really hard on yourself, even though you're getting the workouts in and you're getting the nutrition in, you're beating yourself up, or it's never good enough. Like you're always chasing that proverbial carrot, then it's never going to be good enough. You're never going to be content. Right. And so that spiritual piece is when I found it, I was like, so many people are missing this piece in the health world. So many people, which is why I'm excited to have conversations like this.
Yes. Yeah. It's so powerful. And I think you make such a good point about, the conditioning piece and, our rational mind and our analytical mind wants to rule the show, where it's like, yeah, if we can't see it or test it in some physical way, then it can't be real. And I do think that's why, and I think that's one of the things I love about holistic nutrition and just the holistic health space in general, is that, whether or not people are explicitly teaching like this spiritual side, like we're talking about, there is that side, because there's an understanding, like you're saying, that there's the mind, there's the body, there's the soul, the spirit. Like there are three aspects that all have to be addressed. And, traditional medicine or traditional healthcare, whatever, it's just not there. And so I think I love that piece so much, that there is three sides of the coin, basically, when you're looking at this health equation. You have to address all of them, like whether or not you can see it. And that's why I'd mentioned, and you'll have to go check out Pam's podcast, because we did an interview. I did an interview with her on her Divine Health podcast. But I mentioned this book, and I'm going to mention it again to y'all who are listening on my podcast, but it's called, what's it called now? Why Woo Woo Works. Isn't that what it said? Why Woo Woo Works. Yes. It's so good. And it's the science. He's a scientist. He's a PhD. And if you listen to an Audibles, he's got this amazing Irish accent. So I just love listening to him. But he literally goes through all these scientific studies. But the thing is, part of it is because, again, our rational analytical minds want to make sense of it. There are limited studies on this stuff, because a lot of scientists, don't want to touch this stuff because they don't want to be labeled as woo woo or whatever. But the few who will, there are scientific studies they talk about in this book. And it's just what you're talking about. It's like, this stuff works. Like there is validity to everything that you're saying with this spiritual piece. And there's, whether you believe in God or the universe or whatever your spiritual beliefs are, like there is zero chance you can deny the existence of it when you look at these studies and all these different things. He talks about Reiki, which we'll talk about in a minute. He talks about Reiki and crystals and meditation and all of these spiritual aspects. So just backing up your point that like you really can't address any of these like separately. Like you have to put the whole equation together.
You do, because they all impact each other, right? It's like trying to move a pendulum and just hit one and not affect the others, or the domino. Like they all work with each other, right? So the more that you can find yourself in alignment, and that's the piece, is that the biggest piece is self-awareness, right? So not judging yourself, but just meeting yourself where you're at. And that's what I really found. That's how I started my spiritual journey. I worked, so I sought out someone, because sometimes we can't see where our blind spots are. And that really helped. And we started with meditation, and I felt so good. It's one of those things that we know it's good for us. Every single personal development book that I've read and continue to read says meditation, game changer. I knew that, but I was like, my brain, there's too many things going on. I can't sit down. And so I laugh now when people say it to me, because I'm like, you're the person that needs
exactly. I was the same way. It's the same thing. I resisted it for years.
Well, because I didn't know how. I didn't want to do it wrong. And so she took me through a guided meditation. And then afterwards I was like, wow, like it just was like coming home to your own self. And so I saw the benefit in that session, and I would see her once a week or once every 2 weeks for a short period. And I was like, well, if it feels this good once a week, why not incorporate it into my day? Just like I would incorporate in brushing my teeth and all of the other health things that I pride myself on doing. And then I was like, that brought in the awareness, because you're able to tune in and say, okay, let's get really quiet. Let's tune out all the noise. And like, how are we feeling energetically, emotionally, mentally? What am I needing? Right. And you're able to make all the other health choices from that place. Maybe you're exhausted. So going to push yourself at a workout is like the last thing that you need. But it's like, again, we're so conditioned to be like, the more that I produce, the harder I push, the better than I am. Instead of saying, maybe the most helpful thing I can do is take a nap or go to bed early or whatever it is, right? But you get that self-awareness by checking in. And that's the thing, like as a health coach and a soul coach or spiritual coach, I don't heal you. I don't give you the answers. I probe the questions so that you can find what works for you from within, right? Because every single person is different. So I think that that's just a beautiful piece. But yeah, if one piece is out of alignment, it affects everything else.
Yep. 100%. And I think for a lot of people, I mean, I know I was, like we mentioned before, I was the same way, did all the physical things, but I know for a lot of people, this is the missing piece. And I know for, the majority of the ladies that I work with, that's the missing piece. It's the tuning into yourself. I love that you said self-awareness because I use that word like probably more than I should. That's such an important word. And it is that awareness piece. And I have so many clients who are resistant to the meditation piece. And so, I give them some other options. Like, let's maybe start with something else. So we start with, journaling or, start with something, but kind of ease them into it. But I really, and, I'm not saying meditation is like the be all end all, like there's not other things, but I never can stress enough, like how crucial meditation. And I always, I don't know who said it. I didn't make this up, but somebody said, that prayer is you talking to God, but meditation is letting God speak to you. It's like you're saying, tuning out the noise and tuning into yourself and listening to that, still small voice or whatever, your inner voice or whatever you call it. But that's the piece that's missing. And that's the piece where, if we aren't listening to it, we're tuning it out. Like you were saying, you tuned yours out for so long, like things start to go haywire,
Yeah, they really do. And it doesn't feel good because then you're like, why is nothing working? I'm trying so hard, but it's like you're avoiding your GPS system. I guess it's like your GPS system, turn right. And you're like, nope, not going to listen. Someone told me to turn left. And so it's that inner compass. And I think that you're absolutely right. You don't have to do it in meditation. I do always want to say like what works for one person might be something different. Like I know in the episode we talked about could be gardening, right? It's just like what allows you to come home to yourself. And sometimes for me, it's cooking. I really love to cook, but it is that intentional cooking. I'm like, okay, I'm cooking today for joy. This is my quiet space. And maybe it is just going, like I just did a hot yoga class, going to yoga 10 minutes early. I was lying down and I was running through my to-do list and I was like, nope, we're like, I'm envisioning water and I'm coming to 0 point and giving myself this gift of not thinking right now. And at any time like a thought would come in, I would just like picture water flowing and I'm just like, surrender, and that took practice, right? It wasn't initially that I was able to do that, but the same way that, I don't know, the first time I learned yoga, I was like, what is this pose? I don't know, right? So you come in with that beginner's mindset and just lean into what feels good for you because it will tell you.
Yep.
Right? Like
for sure.
You'll know.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. It is. And it really is about like you're saying, like finding what's right for you and finding what puts you into that space. And like, I know sometimes for me, it's, going for a walk. And a lot of times it's like super duper early in the morning, way before the sun comes up, but it's the only time I have to like be by myself and it's dark, but it's really peaceful because it's dark and it's quiet, the stars are out, but it's that intentional practice of, because I'll do the same thing when I'm walking. I'm thinking like, okay, I have this meeting at this time and I have this, you're thinking through but it's like that intentional practice of, no, I'm going to be here now. I'm going to, enjoy the quiet and the sound of, whatever happens in the morning before the sun comes up. It's like, it's that intentional practice of like tuning into your body and, quieting your mind and that whole, it's like whatever puts you in that space. Like that's whatever works for you.
And continuing that, like if you can ripple that out to everything in your life, I think you have like a really aligned, good life. That's not to say that hard things aren't going to happen, but you'll have all those tools and resources. So when you do get rocked, you're like, okay, I'm going to go for that walk and I'm just going to be in nature. I'm going to breathe and remind myself that I'm alive. I am here. And this is part of the human experience, right? So we're always learning and evolving. And I always use the analogy of the tool in your tool belt. Like once you have that solid foundation, you know exactly what to go to. And again, that there's so many resources out there that it doesn't have to, like sometimes for me, it is a run. Sometimes it's hot yoga. Sometimes it's meditation. Sometimes it's going out for a date with my husband. Sometimes it's going for me to go see a Reiki practitioner or like there's so many different things that you can lean into that feel really good or allow you to bring yourself back to that home frequency.
Yep, that's exactly it. Well, and I love that yoga and Reiki are two of the big pieces that you hone in on your teaching. And I wanted to touch on that because I know, we've talked about yoga on the show. Most people know what yoga is, but I would love to touch on the Reiki because this is a thing where, and I love this piece of that book I was talking about, that Why Woo Woo Works, because he talked a lot there. And I was super surprised to hear this, by the way. I don't know if you know this because it may be different in Canada. Like we all might be more open to things than, us here in the United States. But he was talking about there's a couple hospitals in the United States. He actually might have mentioned one in Canada, but there's a few like well-named hospitals that are opening up these, they don't call them alternative practices. I forget the word they use for it. Basically like these integrative type alternative approaches, like giving people options in the hospital to use it. And Reiki was one of them. And I'm like, oh my gosh, who knew? So I love that there is a little bit, I feel like it's small, but I feel like there's a little bit of a open-mindedness that's happening with things like that. But I also think people just really don't know what it is. So can you kind of explain what Reiki is and how you use it to help your clients and your community to like as a part of this wellness healing process?
Absolutely. And I think that it is one of those things that as things are changing, it will be more well known, and it already is. Like, yeah, it just is. It's coming out. And I always joke that I would love for it to be as popular as getting a massage. Like no one knows advice about getting a massage because it's physical, right? You can physically feel what's happening, right? So Reiki, I like to think of it almost like an energetic massage. So if you think about the body and you go into the woo world, we have this life force energy, right? And so Reiki is all about, sometimes we have stuck energy, right? So again, I talked about the chakras. We might have that stuck energy there. And then or moving up one, we have our sacral chakra right up just below your belly button. And so sometimes that's related to a lot of sexual. So if you're having issues with stuff like that, you might develop stuff in the womb space and moving up. So it's just like there's energetic meridians in our body. So just the same way with acupuncture, you would place the needles in specific places. With Reiki, you're channeling that energy using your hands and you're placing them over different parts of the body. And each part, you obviously go through training and a certification so that you know what you're doing, where you're going, and good hygiene practices. So again, I clear everything out. So I'm not taking anything in, and you're just channeling that energy and getting that energy moving. And the thing that it really clicked. And again, all of these pieces play a part in my life is that with yoga, it's prana, right? So that life force energy is prana. And when you're flowing and you're in that breathing flow state, you feel the prana, like you feel alive. Like, and for me, I could physically and mentally rationalize that. Like, okay, I understand what that is. And then Reiki is like the energetic side of it. So getting things moving stuck energy and allowing that healing to channel through. So it actually is really popular with people who have illness, who are diagnosed with cancer, who even on my children, sometimes like my son, he's very sensitive and he feels a lot. So he's got the biggest heart. So I'll always just do Reiki and I just will have my hands there and all of a sudden he's like, and you can just tell, this like huge release, right?
That's so awesome.
And then I'll use it for healing on myself as well. So it's not just for other people. It's if I'm having a lot of menstrual cramps, I will do my ritual and practice and place my hands there and send in that healing energy, right? So it's amazing, but it is hard because a lot of people, they're like, well, what are you doing? What's exactly happening? You're not physically touching me, in some places I will put hands on, I will ask, obviously ethics, but sometimes you're just hovering over the spot, right? And you can feel energy. It is absolutely incredible. So
yeah, I love that. I love that. Well, and I imagine that for you, like you were mentioning before, you had this like strong intuitiveness when you were younger. So I imagine that plays a big part in being able to like really bring forth, that gift to people and allowing yourself to kind of pull all of that out, like that intuitive piece, I'm sure plays a big part.
It really does. And that's the other thing that I'll say, just like when you go to a nutritionist or a chiropractor or a lawyer, they all have different specialties and gifts. So my husband, he's a chiro, so I'm using him as an example, but is really good with athletes and like the rehabilitation with that. And and really being proactive and giving them strength. And like, he understands the whole body in that aspect. So a lot of really good athletes go to him. A lot of parents who have kids that are send them, like, he's just built that reputation, right? So sometimes with different Reiki practitioners, they will have kind of different specialties like that where they'll hone that in. And I absolutely honed in my intuition. And it was interesting at first because when I was new to it, you're just like, okay, I'm trusting, I'm flexing. Right. There is no feedback. Like with nutrition, I'm giving you a meal plan or I'm giving you a recipe, you're losing weight. There's feedback, right? Like I understand the system. So when I was new to it, it was very much that beginner's mindset of like, okay, I'm just trusting that I'm guided here. There's science behind it. Like it was developed by a Buddhist monk. It's been around for a long time. It's been practiced for a long time and helping people. So I got certified in it and I did it at one of my retreats. And I was very excited to gift these women this healing session. And my intuition was guiding me to different parts on the chakra system. So that's really where I specialized in, is going to different areas. And I would get channeled messages. And at first I was like, okay, this is so outside my comfort zone because I'm so used to the science, the proof.
Yes.
But I really was just like, this is a part of who I am that I shut off for a really long time. So I'm going to trust that this is a gift and that I'm meant to share in this way. And I'm going to let go of that fear. There was a lot of fear. I don't know if it's past life stuff or whatever, but there was a ton of fear that I will be judged. I will be persecuted. I will be thought that, well, who does she think she is? Like, is she crazy? You know, all of those things went through my mind and I was very afraid to share. And it just a slow process, just leaning into it. So with those women, I would share and some of them, like, I had no idea. I didn't know like anything about them. And I'm like, blah, 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 blah. They're like, oh my gosh, there's no way that you could have known that. There's no way. And so I could feel like blocks in different areas. And I'm like, oh, why is your head so full? Like, it's so full. Like I would get a visualization of just like an episode of Hoarders for this one girl. And I was like, what is going on? And she's like, oh, I keep myself very busy. And I was like, okay, like why? And we're like getting to the root, right? And then I get to her heart and like, oh my gosh, it could give me goosebumps right now. And her heart was so sad. Like I almost started crying. It was like, I could feel what she was feeling. And again, I'm just like a conduit. When you're doing Reiki, you're literally channeling that divine energy. It's not me. I'm not healing. I'm just having my hands there and I'm sharing the message that comes in. Like, your heart is so sad and your head is so full. Like, what's the connection? And she was like, I don't love myself and I keep myself so busy so that I don't. Yeah. And so that was the gift where it was like a light bulb moment went off and it was like, okay, you have to share this, right?
Yes.
You can't just hold this in for a fear, because I was just able to open that door. I was able to open the door. You know, I'm very mindful of my languaging, but I was able to feel what she was feeling and reflect it. And she was able to sit upon it and then say, wow. And forever, she was like, I just wish I had that crystal ball. I just wish that someone could tell me. And I'm like, your system right here, it's trying to tell you you're not.
This is it. This is the message.
So using my intuition just kind of developed very naturally and organically in that way. And it's weird because you can't go to intuition school. I mean, you can go to spiritual school, you can go and work under other intuitives, but it was just this thing where I was like, okay, I'm being guided here. Like, I don't know what's guiding me, but I'm like, I'm meant to go here. And that's how I use it in my Reiki sessions, is a little bit of intuition mixed in with the Reiki training. And then I always just share, like, if this resonates, you know. And it's so funny because every single time people are like, oh my God, like, how did you know that? How did you know that? And it's like, it's not me. And that gave me the confidence, because I love oracle cards and doing readings, and not to say like this card is going to tell you what your life is, but it's confirming what you already feel and what you already know, what you're already going through. Right. And sometimes it can just give you that little nugget or that little breadcrumb, like, keep going. You got this, you know? So the Reiki branched out into the oracle card readings because it was just like, okay, I do have this gift. That was kind of that confirmation. It's sad that I need that, but I'm sharing because there might be a listener that's like, I'm feeling that, but I keep not trusting it, or I keep trying to rationalize with my head. Like my head literally
Yes.
was the boss
Yes.
and it tried to dominate rationalizing things.
100%.
Yeah. So I just honor your intuition. And the more that you just like lean into it, it's just like baby steps. The more you will, it'll be louder. It'll be stronger. It'll be just like your muscles and everything else that we train, right?
Yep. Yep. For sure. I love that piece. And I love that is so true because that's how my first Reiki session was and the lady, and I think the first thing to say about that is everybody has their own gift, right? Like spiritual gifts is a thing. And whether you are, Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, whatever you are listening, or you don't affiliate with any religion, whatever, like everyone is here to share a gift with the world. Like we all have a gift, right? And I think that intuitive, and everybody has the ability to have that like intuitive piece drop in, and our intuition, that inner voice, that like divine, energy speaking to you. Everybody has that ability to do that. It's again, like we were saying before, when you've practiced that intentional, like set aside that intentional time to practice, like quieting things down so you can hear it, I think is the important piece, because I think that's the other piece. Like allowed yourself to hear it, right? Like the voice is there. The voice is talking. It's whether we listen to it or we're giving ourselves that space to listen to it. And I think everybody has a gift to share. Everybody has a spiritual gift that we're, blessed with. At least that's what I believe. And so I think that like how powerful it is that you gave yourself the space to like listen to that intuitive nudge and to really like honor that intuition that was coming through. Like, no, this is the gift, like using this. And I just like, I don't know if I love watching. He had a special on Netflix not too long ago, the Hollywood medium, Tyler.
I love that.
I'm like, me too. And my husband and I watched it and I'm like, this is whether you believe it or not. Like this guy if you've ever watched it before, y'all listening, he's telling stuff like he has no idea these people he's meeting. And he's telling stuff to these people that, he's being told by their, deceased loved ones that there's no way he would know. Like there's no way. And it's a gift. And I feel like with you, not that you're this medium, but it's the same thing, having that ability. And that's how my first Reiki session was the same way, where, afterwards we're talking through it. And I didn't know this lady. I've never met this lady before in my life. I just found her randomly on the internet. There's no way she would have known things that she was telling me. She was pulling this stuff out where I'm like, it's just crazy, but it's this gift. And I love that this is the gift that you're able to share with people and I feel it too. It's almost like this, what's the word I'm looking for? But you're like kind of like leaving this legacy. Like you're kind of you're able to bring this out in other people too. It's like you're encouraging people now, like everybody has this intuitive piece that can come out and you're able to kind of help, like you're saying, kind of drop the breadcrumbs. And this is how you can kind of follow the path as well. Like it's just this like pay it forward type thing,
Absolutely. And I would say this to anybody who's listening too, because this is how I pump myself up to do the things that I'm scared of, is that, we'll often say, who am I to do this? Who am I to think that I have this gift, right? We're all so uniquely designed. Like we have infinite potential. Like if we just could take those governors off. And I think about it, like when I was pregnant, I created a human being into the world. I wasn't thinking like, oh, now I have to develop ears. It was
exactly
divine. It was absolutely divine.
Yes.
And I think that we all have those gifts within us, but sometimes we just let the world beat us down. And oh no, like I'm not going to share that because my family's going to think I'm crazy.
Exactly.
Or my coworkers or whatever. Right. And you only have this, from what I know, I do believe in past lives, but you have this one life. Who cares what anybody else thinks? If it lights you up, if you are getting that inkling, that nudge, that heck yes, like freaking go for it. Just go for it. Right. And I do know my friend, she is also a Reiki practitioner. And this is why I love different nutritionists, because we all bring a different gift to the table. I never see another person who's doing the same thing as me as like competition. Cause I'm like, you're sharing your gift. You are in your power. You are in your element. You are in your divine blueprint. That's freaking awesome. I'm going to celebrate you and I'm going to have you on the podcast. But her gift is past lives. And it's so incredible. And same thing. She's like, I don't know this. Like, how would I know this?
How would I know? Right.
And sometimes it can be really healing because you're like, okay, I had a childhood where I was really, really gifted and my parents for instance, muted me down because they didn't want me to share with the community.
Right.
Okay, there could be that innate fear then. That makes sense why you don't want to lean into your spirituality, because you've had a lifetime where you weren't allowed that, or you were a witch and you were burned at the stake. So stepping into your spirituality can be very scary. And so share your gift. If you don't know what it is, that's okay. It took me a really long time. And it was, I think a lot of times the mistake that people have with intuition is that it's like the gates of heaven are going to open up and they're going to tell you exactly, like, Pam, here's what you're doing. I still don't know what the full end plan is going to be. And I allow myself to go into the unknown. I allow myself to be surprised. It's not an easy path, so to speak. Like sometimes I'm like, why couldn't I just have the gift of accounting and
make it easy?
Yeah, right. But it was just that one breadcrumb and you follow it and you don't know, like I did yoga. Yoga is connected with Reiki, in my opinion. And I had the eating disorder and I'm grateful for that because that kickstarted the whole thing.
Everything. Mm-hmm.
Right. And so, and every single person I have on the podcast, it's like, oftentimes it's their pain point, whether it was a relationship, a health issue, whatever it was that inspired them to heal. Right.
For sure. I love that
journey.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I literally just posted, I had a post on Facebook about that exact thing. So about my journey, and not like my journey throughout my life, but like I went to college for fashion design and then that didn't feel right. Then I changed my major and did education and I did that for a little bit. Then that didn't feel right. And it's like, you have each, like you're saying, these little breadcrumbs. And yeah, I mean, you could go with the mindset like, well, crap, like I just wasted my whole undergrad and master's degree, which I'm not using at all now. But, and you could have the mindset, but then at the same time, it's like there's a reason all of it transpired the way it did. And each little breadcrumb led you to exactly where you are. And like for you, the same thing. It's like you are able to use each of these instances and like kind of like the redirects that, God gives you and to go on the path that you were meant to be on. I mean, it's all divinely orchestrated and everything happens in the right time, in the right order, in the right place to lead you to discover these gifts and everything. Like it's all happening in the way it's supposed to.
It really is. And I think that goes back to, again, the conditioning that, oh, well, I'm a flake, or we put rules, right, on what society will think.
For
and
sure.
you really just have to like, spirituality is about taking off those conditions.
Yes.
You literally one at a time, you take them off, you peel them down, you look at it and say, is this even mine? Is this even mine? Right.
Yep.
So that's a big question that I would ask myself. Okay, I'm holding on to, I'm only lovable if I mass produce, or if I, put weigh this amount. Like so many women, that's what I would see. If I weigh this, then I'll be happy. And it's like, really? Like, will you, or will it be 5 more pounds, or will it be, I still have whatever. Right. So it's just really peeling back the layers and getting to the root of your authentic self. And I don't really like to say that word because authenticity is just thrown around so much, but it's like literally stripping you bare. And I think oftentimes when I started this real healing journey in spirituality, I had armor all over everything because I wanted to protect myself. Right. And so I can still protect myself, but it's more about energetic boundaries for me at this point, that I didn't have to wear the armor anymore. I didn't have to carry that weight, so to speak. And I don't think a lot of people think that. Like a lot of people who might have weight to lose, it's because emotionally, energetically, and spiritually, you're hoarding things.
Totally.
Right. And this is another thing I'll share is that when you have a scar, so when you were a kid and you hurt yourself and you have a scar, it's like you can see there is an injury there. But sometimes we pick these injuries up in emotions, in like little traumas or big traumas, whatever they are, and we literally store them in our physical vessel. And so that is another piece of the spiritual and healing journey, is just releasing them, forgiving yourself, like letting go. Like I will literally, however it works for you, literally meditate, picture it going up into a hot air balloon and just going like return to sender. I don't need to carry this anymore. I don't need, and it's funny because once you start, it's like, oh, we're healing things now. We're letting things go. I'm ready. And you're just like, oh my goodness. But it feels so good. Like I know that when I went down, really just peeling back the layers, really sitting with myself, letting go of the armor, like one piece at a time, I was like, wow, I do feel lighter. I feel like, when you do a good purge in your home and you like get rid of stuff and there's more space and it just feels really organized and clean. our bodies are like that too, but we
Yep.
can't see it. So we don't think about it. We don't prioritize it, but
Right.
this is changing. And I do think we're going to see more people that are going to be supporting their energetic body as much as they support their physical body. Right.
Yeah,
Which
I think so too.
my hope anyways.
Yeah, for sure. Me too. I mean, I think as, more conversations like this are happening where people are, and I think too, there's also a piece of like demystifying all of it, right? Because I think that's the other thing is a lot of people see it as this like mystical thing where and that's why I love that book I've been talking about and like Dr. Joe Dispenza, people who are like demystifying the whole like energetic piece where like there is science to this too. Not that we have to like scientificate everything. I know that's not a word, but like we have to make everything science, but it helps people kind of analyze it and be able to understand it, right? And people to like see, but there is science behind all of this. There's science behind energy and vibration and all of this. Like there's science behind it. So I think it's conversations like this where you kind of demystify it. And just to put it in terms of like, I think the other piece of that too is this, like the fulfillment piece that you're talking about. Like you've been able to discover your soul's purpose and your soul, like follow on your soul's path. And this, I think the evidence that you're showing is this, this fulfillment that you have. I mean, you are fulfilled, like you are living in joy and you're doing the thing that like lights you up and fuels your soul. Like to me, that's all the evidence you need that this is real, that you're able to have that feeling of just fueling your soul.
And that's the gift that I wish that I could scream from the rooftop for everybody.
Yes.
It's available, it's accessible, but we're so distracted. We are so distracted. And I know I'm generalizing, but even just the youth, like I have 3 young kids, I understand technology, they're growing up with it, right? So there is a lot of comparison, like, well, this person looks like this, or this person has that. Totally. And it's like, you never know the story behind it. There's a lot of times where I've been going through some of the hardest, darkest times, and I have my tools in my tool belt, but online, you don't see that. So I think that it would be such a gift for people to just come home to themselves. Like when you wake up in the morning, like just put your phone away, check in with yourself. Okay, body, like how am I feeling today? Mentally, emotionally, physically, energetically, like what do you need today? And like when you can make those choices from that place of like really loving and wanting to honor yourself, your whole day goes better, right? And your life gets better. And I think that's the thing. Like we're sold that it's material things, or it is a certain job, or it's a certain thing that's going to bring fulfillment or success, right? I have 2 cookbooks I've published and I had success, but it didn't fill me up. Right. And I think that's important to say, because I know Jim Carrey says that too, is like, I wish everybody could be rich and famous and realize it doesn't fill you up. You want to know what it does is like loving yourself, being present, being in the moment, appreciating like the small things. Like the sun is shining today. I'm in Canada. Normally it's like snowing and it's so beautiful out. And I'm just like, oh my God, like the sunshine, like just basking in those small things. And I know today you're not launching today, but is the eclipse. It's a full moon. And so things have been a little bit wonky energetically. And in the yoga class that I went to this morning, she said, even if things are wonky or chaotic or a little off kilter energetically, you're feeling it. Like, and we all know that, like when you're just like, oh my gosh, like my car won't start, or just random things happen. All you have to do is what you did in the practice today. And that was to breathe and be present. And I was like, that's it. That's the gift, like breathe and be present. So if your toddler is throwing a tantrum, just take a deep breath, let it out, and then what do you need? What do you need, sweetie? Like just being present there and not just, I don't know. I just think so often we're always on to the next thing, right? It's like, okay, I'm at yoga. What am I making for dinner? And we're never present. We're always missing it. We're with the kids, but we're thinking about a work thing. We're working and then we're missing the kids. Like, so just really grounding in the present moment, I think is like the best gift you can give yourself.
Absolutely. I love that advice. Such good advice. And you've brought so many tangible things here for us to start implementing. And I do have another question that I want to ask you to wrap things up. But before I do that, can you let everybody know where they can find more about you and the work that you do to help everybody with their wellness, their spiritual wellness and their physical wellness and all the things.
Absolutely. You can find me, the place that I like to hang out the most is on Instagram. I find it's a place where I can really just express myself. I love the stories. I always share what I'm doing, what's working. I like to share tangible tips there too. So at Pam_Rocca is my Instagram handle. You can also find me over on my website, www.pamrocca.com. Everything's over there. Or you can check out my podcast too, Divine Health, where I have conversations like this, where I love to just share that inspiration in a fun way, right? Like, what if today the best thing you did was just take a deep breath and be in the present moment, right? Like, give yourself that gift. So those are the two places that you can find me.
Yeah, I love it. And y'all definitely go check out our podcast because it is, I think conversations like this, I think, especially with the world of podcasting, like there's so much we have access to, like there's so much information we have access to, and there's so many powerful conversations we have access to, but like these, and I know I'm a little bit biased, but like these are the conversations everybody should be listening to. Like it's like you were saying before, it's like that journey to coming back to yourself. Like these are the conversations I wish everybody was listening to. And you have so many of these important conversations on your podcast that I think just to uplift people and provide some inspiration and insight and like helping them on their own like soul's journey. And so, yeah, I love the conversations that you're bringing. So thank you for offering that.
Well, and I think that is another one of my gifts when I look back, is that I'm the person that's holding the torch, that is showing people that we're scared, that it's okay. And that here's how we're going to do it. Right. And like, no, you don't have to follow me, but I'm going to share wisdom and nuggets and tie in to something that's tangible and grounded, but also bring in the other piece. And so that you can kind of merge them and see how it's all connected. So if people are interested, my link in bio, there's oracle readings, there's distant Reiki sessions. So I know that we're not close by. I also have in person, but with technology, that's a beautiful thing, right? We always have. So
I love it. I love it. That's so good. Do you know what your human design is?
I do.
What is yours?
It's no surprise. I'm a manifesting generator.
Me too. I figured it. I picked that one out earlier when you were talking.
Well, and that's why again, going back to society instructors, I always wondered, what is wrong with me? Why do I have so many things?
Me too.
You could just pick one thing.
Yes.
But then I got my human design and I started to learn more about it. Again, that's another tool that you can bring in for that self-awareness.
Yes, it's so good.
I use the human design for the spiritual side. I use astrology, my sun, moon, and rising as another piece. And they all just kind of go together to bring me to who I already am, to who I was born into this world, right?
Yeah.
So I am a manifesting generator, gut instinct. And
me too.
It's so funny because one of my soul's purpose is to be present. And I'm like, that's such a random.
Oh my gosh. That's so awesome. That's so awesome. Do you know what your profile lines are? What the numbers?
4-6.
4-6. Okay. Yeah. I was going to say 4-2, 4-6. Yeah. I could totally pick that out for sure. I picked out the manifesting generator part, but it's so true because, and it's like you were saying before though, it's like all of these things, like we already know all of this. It's just like pulling it out of the subconscious. Like it's stuff, it's nothing like you don't already know. It's just learning what was already there and understanding, and the deconditioning piece of like pulling off the layers, like you were saying before, pulling off the layers of what's not yours and then understanding like what is yours and who you are. And yeah, I love that. I love human design so much. So I just had to ask because you mentioned it. And I'm like, oh, she knows human design. So I had to ask. It's so, I feel like it's so crucial to just understanding yourself on the journey. Like it's just so fun.
It really is. And it gave me a peace of mind, I'll say, because with the 6, we don't really peak until we're in our 50s. So I was like, oh my gosh, because I always was like, I should be farther than I am, always pushing. And then I was like, exactly where the heck I'm supposed to be.
That's exactly it. You're doing it right.
So there's a lot of wisdom in there. And again, you can't make it up. My sister and I, we looked at ours, and we're sisters, 2 same parents, same household, same upbringing. And when we looked at it, we laughed hysterically because one of the things for my radiance that keeps me healthy, this is Gene Keys, is being physically active. Like that's what keeps me healthy. And hers was something totally different. And we laughed because it's like, it's just accurate. You already know. It's not something that's anything new, but it's just like, that's what this is for.
It's just confirming. Yep.
And so I no longer
validating
that I just had one thing. I'm like, I'm allowed to do Reiki and a podcast and talk about nutrition and anything that fills me up. And it's okay. It doesn't have to be the way I was taught. I was supposed to be, right?
100%. That was a huge piece for Inti, a huge deconditioning piece. Because I was telling myself the same thing, like, just pick one, like, just focus, just pick one. And then I learned my human design and I'm like, oh, okay. Like, I'm going to do it all then. I love it. It's so good. Okay. So the question I want to wrap up with is a question I like to ask everybody. What do you think is the most important thing you can do to live with purpose?
Ooh, that's a really good question. My brain is like short circuiting because there's so many things that I want to say. The two that come to mind that I'll share is presence, which I already talked about. Like, just actually be there and enjoy it. Like, just take a moment to, like, right now I'm doing this podcast. I'm totally here and my cup is so full. I'm so grateful for conversations like this. Later on, when I go to do dishes, I'm going to be doing the dishes, and just like finding joy in the presence, I think is like so underrated. And people say it, but like, actually, like, when you're cooking dinner, even if you listen to a podcast like this, like, be present and find more gratitude in that. And the other is intentionality. Like, you're not going to run into a dream life without intention, right? So with everything in my week that I prioritize, and even just like meditation, you could easily say, oh, I'll meditate tomorrow. Oh, I'll meditate tomorrow. But unless you intentionally plug it in your schedule, it's not going to happen.
Yep.
I do that with my workouts. I do that with my husband, date night. Like, I do that with my kids, like planning in, like, okay, we'll go play basketball later. Like, just intentionally creating your dream life. You can do it, right? And it's not to say that it's going to be sunshine and rainbows. That's an illusion, right? Like, there is no just love and light, the sun and the moon, the yin and the yang, the up, the down, but it's just enjoying the presence of it's a gift. It's all a gift, right? Just being here. It really is. So
yeah, I love it. That was beautiful. Thank you so much for this, Pam, and offering this insight. And I mean, again, I think these conversations are conversations everybody should be having and tuning in to themselves and into, you know, what their soul is telling them to do. So thank you for sharing this and for all of the insight to allow people to discover their own gifts. I know this is going to help. This is going to help a lot of people. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much. It was my pleasure.
Thanks for listening to Hopeful and Wholesome, y'all. If you found value in this week's episode, please subscribe on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts and leave a review to let me know what you thought. I love to know what you find useful in these episodes so I know how I can provide the most value I can to my listeners. And if you have topics that you want to know more about, I'd love to hear those as well. So shoot me a message on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn. It's @TheHopePedraza, or visit my website, hopefulandwholesome.com. Thanks, y'all.